Welcome to Talk Tickers. Right now, as you listen to this, roughly 20% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist is simply, well, it's just gone.
Yeah, permanently.
Right, permanently. We are talking about billions upon billions of dollars that are just locked away in these impenetrable digital vaults, entirely inaccessible forever.
All because someone, lost a piece of paper or maybe threw away an old hard drive.
Or just forgot a password. I mean, it is a financial system that currently demands absolute human perfection. And, well, as we all know, humans are definitely not perfect.
Far from it, yeah.
So on this deep dive, we are exploring a highly anticipated financial infrastructure topic that aims to fix this exact problem. We're talking about the revolution of account abstraction in Web3.
It's a massive topic.
It really is. We are looking at the foundational plumbing of decentralized finance and how it is being completely rewired, basically to transform crypto wallets from these rigid, highly vulnerable accounts into programmable, automated financial engines.
And it really is a complete paradigm shift for the industry. I mean, for the last decade, we have been forcing average, everyday users to interact with blockchain networks entirely on the network's terms.
Right, like you had to learn their language.
Exactly. You had to understand the cryptography, you had to manage the raw key pairs yourself, and this is the worst part. Manually pay the network tolls for every single action.
It's exhausting.
It is. So what we are seeing now is this massive structural overhaul that shifts that burden away from you, the user, and pushes it all down into the back-end infrastructure.
Which is where it belongs, honestly.
Completely. We are moving away from a system that demands flawless human behavior to a system that actually adapts to human error, expectation, and, convenience.
And it's about time. For years, the crypto user experience has been plagued by massive, frankly, unacceptable amounts of friction.
Oh, the friction is unbelievable.
If you have ever tried to interact with a decentralized application, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The terror of managing a seed phrase, the confusing and wildly unpredictable nature of gas fees.
Not to mention the transaction approvals.
Yes. The incredibly clunky, repetitive transaction approvals that make buying a digital asset feel like you're filing your taxes.
It's a nightmare for onboarding.
So account abstraction essentially solves this by turning wallets into smart contracts. This allows for entirely new capabilities that feel much more like traditional tech.
Right. Things we take for granted.
Exactly, like gas fee sponsorships, social recovery mechanisms, biometric logins, seamless automation.
All the good stuff.
So our mission today on this deep dive is to unpack the underlying mechanics of this shift, the new economic models it creates, and how it paves the way for both enterprise treasury management and really mainstream consumer adoption.
Because we need to break down how this technology actually bypasses the rigid rules of the original blockchain architecture and doing it without requiring a system-wide reboot.
Right, no hard forks.
Exactly. We will look at the specific mechanical upgrades, the new infrastructure players that make this all possible, and the incredibly sophisticated business models that this unlocks for developers, brands, and institutions.
It is a dense topic for sure.
It is. But once you understand the mechanics, you realize exactly why the biggest players in traditional finance are paying very, very close attention to this.
So when you think about traditional crypto wallets, the best way I can describe it to you is that it is like having a state-of-the-art combination safe buried in your backyard.
That's a great way to put it.
Right. Like, yes, it is highly secure. Nobody is getting into that safe without a tremendous amount of effort and knowledge, but it is incredibly inconvenient if you just want to buy groceries.
You're not going to dig it up for a carton of milk.
Exactly. If you want to buy a cup of coffee, you have to go out to the backyard, dig up the safe, remember the precise combination, pull out the exact change, and then bury it again before you can even pay the barista.
Which is just absurd for daily life.
It is. So in contrast, account abstraction is like upgrading to a modern digital banking app. You get auto pay, fraud alerts, biometric logins, joint accounts, all of that.
But the crucial part, the magic trick of all of this, is that you get all of that without losing the self-custody aspect.
Yes, that's the key.
You still own the money entirely. It's still yours. But you just don't have to dig up the backyard every single time you want to use it.
So that buried safe represents what we call externally owned accounts, or EOAs.
Right, EOAs.
And before we can really appreciate the incredible technical solutions that account abstraction offers, We kind of have to establish exactly why this current EOA infrastructure is breaking down for average users.
Yeah, we have to look at why a massive structural shift was absolutely necessary for the survival and growth of Web3.
Let's start with the absolute basics of what is failing you right now. Externally owned accounts. These are the standard wallets most people are familiar with.
Pretty much everyone who has touched crypto has used one.
Right. If you have ever downloaded a popular browser extension wallet, you have created an EOA. You generate a wallet, and it is controlled entirely by a single private cryptographic key.
And usually this private key is represented to you as a seed phrase.
Ah, the dreaded seed phrase.
Right, a string of 12 or 24 random words like, I don't know, apple, river, table. And that seed phrase is the alpha and the omega of your entire financial identity on that network.
It is the ultimate single point of failure.
It really is. An EOA operates on a very simple, very strict cryptographic rule. The account is mathematically tethered to that private key and absolutely nothing else.
There's no backup.
None.
Yeah.
There is no underlying logic, no backup mechanism, no code running in the background to verify your intent or establish safety parameters.
It's just completely binary.
Exactly binary. If you hold the key, you have absolute dictatorial power over the assets. If you do not hold the key, the network does not know who you are, and those assets might as well not exist.
We hear the famous rallying cry of the crypto community all the time, right? Not your keys, not your coins.
You hear it everywhere.
It has been chanted as this empowering mantra for years, especially after major centralized exchanges collapse. It means that if your funds are sitting on an exchange and that exchange goes bankrupt, or simply decides to halt withdrawals,
Which happens a lot.
too often, you don't really own those coins, you just own an IOU on their database. So self-custody, actually holding your own cryptographic keys, is the only way to ensure true, unseizable ownership.
But it is a massive double-edged sword.
Oh, totally. Because if not your keys, not your coins is true, the inverse is also brutally true. Lose your keys, lose your coins.
And that is a harsh reality.
If that key is compromised by a hacker, the funds are gone instantly. There is no customer service number to call to reverse the charge.
Nobody can help you.
Right. And if the key is lost or forgotten, the funds are permanently inaccessible. It is a level of finality that the average consumer who is used to a world of safety nets is just entirely unequipped to handle.
And the data surrounding this loss is staggering, and frankly, it's a bit tragic. It is estimated that a full 20% of the total Bitcoin supply is lost forever.
20%?
Yes. 1/5 of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist, inaccessible because of lost keys, forgotten passwords, or discarded hardware.
It's mind-blowing.
We are talking about a systemic leakage of wealth simply due to human error in managing cryptographic secrets.
And the stories are legendary at this point.
Oh.
If you follow the space, you have probably heard of the developer Stefan Thomas.
Okay, the hard drive guy.
Yes. He had an encrypted backup hard drive containing 7,000 Bitcoin, but he lost the password to the encrypted USB stick.
And the device had a failsafe, right?
Yeah, the specific device he used gave him 10 guesses before it would permanently encrypt the data forever as a security measure against brute force attacks.
That is so stressful.
He used up 8 of those guesses over the years, trying various passwords he thought he might have used. At today's valuations, you are looking at hundreds of millions of dollars locked away behind a password he simply cannot remember.
He literally has 2 guesses left for the rest of his life.
I can't even imagine the anxiety. And it's not just forgotten passwords. There is the famous case of an early user back in June 2011 who lost 25,000 Bitcoin.
Wow, 25,000.
Yeah. An unknown intruder managed to gain direct access to his computer, located the unencrypted wallet file, and just simply emptied it out.
In present-day value, that is approaching $1 billion.
Wiped out because a computer was connected to the internet and breached. Just gone.
And the thing is, these are highly technical individuals. These are software developers and early adopters who understand the underlying technology intimately.
They know what they are doing.
Exactly. If they are making these fatal errors and losing absolute fortunes, how can we possibly expect a mainstream audience, people who are used to clicking a forgot password link and getting an email reset within seconds, to navigate this landscape safely?
We really can't.
We are asking everyday consumers to essentially act as their own bank security guards, their own vault technicians, and their own armored car drivers all at once. The mental overhead is simply too high.
And even if you manage to be that perfect security guard and keep your seed phrase perfectly secure, The actual day-to-day user friction is maddening.
It really is.
If you've ever tried to buy a digital asset or use a decentralized exchange, you know the panic of gas fees. In a traditional EOA setup, you must own the network's native token just to pay for the computational effort of the network, which we call gas.
Right. So if you are on Ethereum, you must hold ETH. If you are on Polygon, you must hold Matic.
And this creates a massive onboarding barrier. Imagine trying to use a new financial application. You have a stable coin, like USDC, sitting in your wallet, and you want to send it to a friend or use it to buy something.
Sounds simple enough.
Right. You open the app, you hit send, and you immediately get a red error message. You cannot send your own money because you don't have the specific native token required to pay the network fee.
It's so frustrating.
So now you have to leave the application entirely. You have to go to a centralized exchange, link your bank account, buy a small amount of ETH, transfer that ETH to your EOA wallet, wait for the network to clear the transaction, and then finally return to the original app just to send your USDC.
It is an incredibly convoluted multi-step journey just to perform a simple transfer of value.
You would never accept this in the traditional financial world. Imagine trying to use your Visa card at coffee shop, but the terminal tells you that you first need to go buy a specific brand of Visa-branded utility tokens before it will process your dollars.
People would just walk out.
Exactly. And the friction doesn't stop there. You have to estimate that gas fee accurately. Gas prices are highly volatile. They fluctuate wildly minute by minute based on how congested the network is.
Right. It's like surge pricing for code.
If you set your gas fee too low to save money, your transaction gets stuck pending, sometimes for hours or days, completely blocking your account from doing anything else.
And if the transaction eventually fails, because the network got too busy and the base fee spiked beyond what you authorized, guess what?
Don't tell me.
You still pay the gas fee. You are charged for the computational effort the network expended trying to process your failed transaction.
That is an incredibly punishing user experience. You are financially penalized for an unpredictable variable you have absolutely no control over.
And because different networks require different native tokens, and because users are trying to manage different assets across various decentralized finance protocols, they end up spreading their assets thinly across a fragmented ecosystem.
The data on this is wild. It shows that 62% of cryptocurrency users regularly juggle at least two wallets to manage their different assets and networks.
They're tracking multiple seed phrases, calculating gas on multiple chains, and managing balances across isolated silos.
It is exhausting, and it severely limits the velocity of money within the ecosystem. Hold on, let me push back a bit here. The crypto industry has been screaming, buy a hardware wallet for a decade.
That's true, they have.
Companies make these sleek little USB devices that keep the keys completely offline. If security is the main issue, why aren't hardware wallets the ultimate answer? Why do we need this massive software overhaul that account abstraction represents if I can just buy a $50 device and keep it off the internet?
Well, hardware wallets certainly have their place, and they are excellent at protecting against remote online hacks because the private key never touches an internet-connected device.
Right. A hacker in another country cannot extract the key from a piece of hardware sitting on my desk.
Exactly. However, they do not solve the fundamental architectural flaw of the EOA. First, they still rely on a single point of failure. The physical device itself can be lost, stolen, or destroyed in a fire.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And even then, the setup process forces you to write down the seed phrase on a piece of paper as a backup in case the device breaks. So the ultimate single point of failure is still just a piece of paper hidden in a drawer.
Right. You haven't eliminated the vulnerability. You have just outsourced it to a stationary object. If someone finds that piece of paper, the hardware wallet is completely irrelevant. They just load the seed phrase into a software wallet and drain the funds.
Yep. And beyond the security illusion, hardware wallets make daily, rapid transacting incredibly tedious.
I can imagine.
If you are a trader operating in decentralized finance or a gamer playing a blockchain-based game, you cannot be physically plugging in a USB device, waiting for it to sync, and clicking tiny plastic buttons to approve every single microtransaction, token swap, or in-game movement.
It would ruin the whole experience.
It completely fails to provide the fluid, invisible experience required for mainstream consumer applications. Hardware wallets are fantastic if you want a deep freeze vault for long-term storage, but they are a terrible mechanism for a daily checking account.
Okay, so since a single point of failure is the root of the problem, the solution clearly lies in removing that single point of failure entirely. And we do that by making the account programmable. Enter account abstraction.
This is where we move from a rigid system to a flexible one. Account abstraction, at its core, separates the signing of a transaction from the execution of the transaction.
Meaning?
It effectively merges the properties of externally owned accounts with contract accounts, creating what we call smart contract wallets.
Let's unpack this carefully because this is the real paradigm shift. Instead of your account being a static cryptographic key that blindly signs whatever is put in front of it, your account is now a smart contract living on the blockchain.
It is a piece of code.
And because it is code, you can write rules for it. You can program it.
Exactly. We can look at this abstraction through three distinct lenses. The first is signature abstraction. Under the old EOA system, the only way to authorize a transaction was using a very specific cryptographic signature algorithm hard-coded into Ethereum called ECDSA.
ECDSA. So if you didn't present a valid ECDSA signature, the network rejected you at the door.
Right. Signature abstraction removes this rigid requirement. It allows developers building these new wallets to set custom authorization rules.
And the implications of moving away from ECDSA are massive. If we are no longer chained to that one specific algorithm, we can enable logins using familiar Web 2 methods.
Yes, exactly.
We are talking about using your Apple ID or your Google account to authorize a wallet creation. Even more powerfully, we can use the secure enclave on your smartphone,
Which is huge for usability.
that little dedicated chip in your phone that handles your facial recognition or your fingerprint scans. You can use that to generate the cryptographic signature.
Wait, really?
Yeah. You are taking the exact biometric security you use to unlock your traditional banking app and applying it directly to a non-custodial Web3 wallet.
That is incredible. It completely bridges the gap between Web 2 convenience and Web 3 sovereignty. From your perspective, you don't even need to know you are interacting with a blockchain.
It's just invisible.
You open an app, you scan your face, and behind the scenes, the smart contract verifies that specific biometric data signature against its programmed rules and executes the transaction. The friction of the seed phrase is entirely abstracted away.
Wow. Okay, so that's signature abstraction. The second lens is fee abstraction. This directly attacks that maddening gas friction we talked about earlier.
Right, the need for native tokens.
By abstracting the fee, we remove the strict network requirement that you must pay for gas in the native token like ETH.
And this is where the user experience drastically improves for the average person. With fee abstraction, you can pay the gas fee in a stablecoin, like USDC or USDT.
Oh, that makes so much more sense.
The system handles the complex conversion on the back end invisibly. Even more revolutionary, the application itself can choose to sponsor the gas entirely.
Wait, so the app pays my fees?
Exactly. If you are a decentralized exchange or a new social network, you can pay the transaction fees for your users to encourage them to use your platform. You simply execute your action and you pay zero gas.
That is the freemium model coming to Web3. You remove the entry fee entirely. And then we have the third lens, nonce abstraction. What is a nonce again?
A nonce is essentially a mathematical counter attached to your EOA that ensures transactions are processed in a strict sequential order to prevent double spending.
Okay.
Transaction 1 must process successfully before transaction 2 can even be looked at by the network, and so on.
Wait, so under the old system, if I submit a transaction and the gas fee spikes, leaving my transaction stuck and pending, I can't just submit a different transaction. I am completely frozen.
You are completely frozen. That sequential ordering is a massive bottleneck. If transaction 1 gets stuck, transaction 2 and transaction 3 are blocked behind it in a traffic jam.
That's terrible.
Nonce abstraction bypasses this strict ordering. Because your account is now a smart contract, it can implement custom replay protection mechanisms internally. This means you can process multiple transactions in parallel or batch them together into a single action without worrying about a strict network-enforced numerical sequence locking up your account.
Okay, so to put this all in perspective, let's look at a traditional crypto transaction. It is essentially a bureaucratic visit to the Department of Motor Vehicles.
Oh, the DMV. Perfect analogy.
To get your license renewed, you must go in person. You must have exact change, but they only accept a specific foreign currency that you have to go acquire beforehand.
The native token.
Right, and you have to wait in a separate sequential line for every single form you need to submit. If you get to the front of line 3 and your signature is slightly off, you have to go all the way back to line 1.
It is a nightmare scenario of friction and inefficiency, and it explains why mainstream adoption has been so slow.
Account abstraction is like hiring a VIP concierge. You hand this concierge your regular everyday credit card, or you just show them your ID. You tell them what you want done.
And they handle the rest.
The concierge goes into the DMV, translates your credit card payment into the exact foreign currency required, fills out all the forms on your behalf, submits them all simultaneously to different clerks because they don't have to wait in sequential lines, and hands you your renewed license.
The complex, antiquated rules of the DMV still exist, but they have been completely abstracted away from your experience.
Right. It's important to note, though, that the Ethereum developer community has known about these issues for a very long time. There have been various proposals over the years to implement account abstraction.
Yeah, we saw EIP 2771, which looked at native meta transactions, and EIP 2838, which proposed creating a completely new type of transaction at the base protocol level.
But those older proposals stalled out because they required changing the core consensus layer of the blockchain,
Which is incredibly dangerous.
trying to change the base rules of a massive decentralized network holding hundreds of billions of dollars like Ethereum is like trying to change the engines on a commercial airliner while it's in flight.
It requires immense coordination, years of testing, and introduces massive systemic risk. Every single node operator in the world would have to update their software perfectly.
So the breakthrough we are discussing today found its true footing recently because it managed to achieve account abstraction without requiring any changes to the core consensus layer.
Right. It built the solution on top of the existing infrastructure, creating a parallel system that interacts seamlessly with the base layer without forcing a hard fork of the network.
Okay, so we need this VIP concierge network. But Ethereum's core code wasn't built for concierges. It was built for rigid, do-it-yourself accounts. How do you inject a massive concierge network into a blockchain without ripping the whole blockchain apart?
This brings us to the engine room, the actual mechanics of how this operates, governed by a standard known as ERC 4337.
ERC 4337.
Got it. It is the foundational standard that brings this entirely new architecture to life. It launched on the Ethereum mainnet in March 2023, and the adoption has been explosive.
Really? How explosive?
We are talking about powering over 40 million smart accounts and processing over 100 million transactions since its inception.
That's huge. So if I open one of these new smart contract wallets and I click buy on an asset, what actually happens? If my wallet is just a piece of code now and code can't spontaneously wake itself up to pay Ethereum's base toll, who is actually carrying my request to the blockchain?
Well, when you click buy, you do not create a standard transaction. So smart contract cannot initiate a state change on its own. Instead, your wallet application creates a user operation, or user op.
A user op, what is that exactly?
This is essentially a pseudo-transaction. It is a data object that represents your intent, what you want to do, how you have authenticated it using whatever custom rules your contract has, and how you intend to pay for the gas.
Okay. And instead of sending this user op into the main public transaction waiting room, which is called the mempool, it goes into a separate alternative mempool specifically designed only for user operations. So my intent is sitting in this alt mempool. Who picks it up?
That is where a totally new economy of actors comes in. The bundlers.
Bundlers.
Bundlers are the infrastructure aggregators. You can think of them as the block builders or validators specifically for smart contract wallets. They're specialized nodes that constantly monitor this alternative mempool.
Okay, so they're looking for these user ops.
Yes, their job is to scoop up these user operations, simulate them very quickly off-chain to ensure they are valid and won't fail and waste gas, and then bundle them together into a single massive traditional Ethereum transaction.
Wait, hold on. If the bundler is taking all these intents and submitting them as one final traditional transaction to the blockchain, that means the bundler still needs an old school EOA to pay the native network gas fee to submit that bundle.
That's correct.
We haven't eliminated EOAs, we've just hidden them. Are we just shifting the exact same flaw onto someone else's shoulders?
Yes and no. You are right that the base layer of Ethereum still requires an EOA to initiate a state change. The bundler must use an EOA and must spend native ETH to submit the bundle.
So what's the point?
The paradigm shift is about who holds that EOA and who holds the risk. We are taking the vulnerability, the complex gas estimations, and the requirement to hold native tokens away from the everyday retail end user who shouldn't have to deal with it.
I see.
And we are placing it onto the shoulders of specialized automated infrastructure providers.
Right. It is a B2B shift. The end consumer doesn't deal with the EOA. The massive backend servers deal with it. But why would a bundler do this? Why would they pay my gas fee up front?
Because they are highly incentivized businesses. They earn priority fees attached to the user operations. More importantly, they can capture MEV, maximal extractable value.
Meaning they make a profit off the ordering.
Exactly. By intelligently ordering the operations within the bundle they submit, they can capture arbitrage opportunities or optimize execution paths for a profit. They have the capital, the algorithms, and the enterprise-grade security protocols to handle EOAs and network volatility safely. The average user playing a game on their phone simply does not.
Okay, so the bundler grabs my intent, wraps it up with a bunch of other people's intents, and submits it to the blockchain. But how does the blockchain know the bundler isn't lying?
What do you mean?
How does the network know that I actually authorized that trade? The bundler could just forge a bundle that drains my smart contract wallet.
That is where the ultimate auditor comes in, the entry point contract. The entry point is the trust anchor of the entire ERC 43327 system.
The trust anchor?
It is a singleton smart contract, meaning there is only one official, universally recognized version of it deployed at the exact same address across all EVM-compatible networks. It has been audited by the best security firms in the world because the security of every single smart wallet relies entirely on it.
So the entry point is like the ultimate bouncer at an exclusive club. The bundler walks up to the entry point and hands over a VIP list of user operations.
And the entry point does not just blindly accept it.
Right. It verifies everything. It calls your specific smart contract wallet, which we call the sender, and asks, did your owner actually authorize this operation according to your specific programmable rules?
Yep. It checks the signature.
And it checks that there is enough gas money available, either from your account or from a sponsor. If everything checks out, the entry point executes the operations on your behalf, and then it makes sure the bundler gets reimbursed for the gas fees they paid up front.
It acts as an impartial, automated clearinghouse. It ensures that you only execute what you actually authorized, and it ensures that bundlers are fairly compensated for their services so the system remains economically viable.
But as this scales, dealing with all these individual signatures becomes really data heavy, right? If a bundler wraps up 100 transactions, the entry point has to verify 100 separate signatures, which takes up expensive block space.
Which is why the standard includes aggregators. These leverage advanced cryptography, specifically BLS signatures.
Let's break down how a BLS signature actually works, because it sounds like magic. Think of standard signatures like 100 different people signing a physical birthday card.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Everyone takes up a piece of the page, and the person reading the card has to look at every single distinct signature to verify who signed it. It takes up a lot of space. BLS cryptography is like a mathematical stamp. It takes those 100 unique signatures and through pairing-based cryptography merges them into a single tiny ink blot that still somehow mathematically proves that all 100 specific people were there and signed.
Exactly. The blockchain only has to read and store that one tiny ink blot rather than 100 separate signatures. This saves massive amounts of data costs.
That's incredible.
It is, and this is especially crucial for layer 2 networks, where the primary operating cost is posting transaction data back to the main Ethereum chain. The less data you post, the cheaper the transactions become for everyone involved.
So we have this intricate engine room functioning perfectly. User ops define the intent, bundlers aggregate them, the entry point audits them, the sender holds your custom logic, and aggregators compress the data.
That's the whole stack.
Since the bundler is paying the gas up front and getting reimbursed by the entry point, the economics of how those fees are settled unlock entirely new business models. The payment of the toll is completely decoupled from the user initiating the action. Let's look at paymasters, which are smart contracts dedicated entirely to handling custom gas payment policies.
Paymasters fundamentally flip traditional blockchain economics on its head. Let's explore the different models developers are using. The first is the token paymaster.
Okay, token paymasters.
This provides the most immediate relief for users. It allows you to pay for your gas in ERC20 tokens, predominantly stablecoins like USDC or USDT, rather than the native network token.
But how does the routing actually work? If I only have USDC, how does the bundler get paid in ETH?
The Paymaster smart contract acts as the intermediary. When your user op hits the entry point asks the token paymaster if it will cover the fee.
And the paymaster says yes.
It says yes, taking a portion of your USDC. It uses an internal oracle to algorithmically determine the fair exchange rate, and then it uses its own pre-funded reserve of ETH to pay the bundler via the entry point.
Wow, so you never have to worry about ETH balances or volatile exchange rates.
Exactly. You see a fee presented in a dollar-pegged asset, you agree, and the smart contract handles the conversion and routing in the background.
It normalizes the financial experience to what we expect in the real world, but it gets better. You have Verifying paymasters. This is the holy grail for user acquisition in Web3.
Oh, absolutely.
A verifying paymaster allows the application itself to sponsor the gas costs, creating a completely gasless freemium experience.
Imagine a company launching a new decentralized social media platform or a Web3 game. Under the old system, if a new user signs up and is immediately hit with a 50-cent network fee just to create a profile or move their character,
They're gone.
They will abandon the application instantly. The conversion rate drops to near zero. With a verifying paymaster, the developers of the game deposit a pool of ETH into the paymaster contract.
Okay.
They program a rule. We will cover the gas fees for the first 100 transactions of any new user. The user creates an account, plays the game, and the transactions happen seamlessly in the background. The friction is zero.
It's the exact same customer acquisition cost model used in Web2 tech. A traditional tech company pays for AWS server space and cloud computing to let you use their app for free, hoping to monetize you later through ads, data, or premium features.
Verifying paymasters bring that exact playbook to Web3. You remove the entry fee entirely. You also have subscription paymasters.
Subscription paymasters.
This model mirrors software as a service or streaming platforms. Instead of paying per transaction, which creates psychological anxiety every time a user clicks a button, the user pays a flat monthly fee in a stablecoin to the paymaster.
I'm paying for Netflix.
Exactly. The subscription paymaster then covers all their transaction fees on the back end, up to a certain limit. It provides predictability. You know your blockchain interactions will cost you exactly $10 a month, no matter how volatile the network gas prices get. The paymaster absorbs the volatility risk, much like an insurance provider.
And finally, conditional paymasters. These are highly programmable subsidies. The gas is sponsored, but only if specific on-chain criteria are met.
Right, highly targeted.
A protocol might program the paymaster to say, if you hold our specific community NFT in your wallet, we will pay your gas fees. Or a decentralized exchange might offer sponsored gas only for trades over a certain dollar amount. It allows businesses to hyper-target their marketing subsidies to their most valuable and loyal users.
And we're not just talking about theoretical models here. Massive, real-world corporate experiments are already validating this infrastructure.
Oh yeah, like Visa.
Visa, the digital payments giant, has actively deployed and tested paymaster contracts on testnets. They built an experimental architecture to allow self-custodial wallets to auto-convert USDC to ETH to cover gas.
Think about the magnitude of that signal. Visa is exploring how to let you swipe a crypto wallet at a merchant just like a credit card. Your wallet uses stablecoins to instantly pay the merchant, and a paymaster invisible in the background converts a tiny fraction of those stablecoins to pay the blockchain network fee. It completely abstracts the friction for consumer retail payments.
It's huge. However, we do have to discuss the economic reality and the trade-offs of this system. Smart contract wallets require computational resources to execute their custom code. Logic is not free on a blockchain.
Right. A simple traditional transfer from an EOA might cost 21,000 units of gas. But under ERC 4337, that exact same simple transfer jumps to around 100,000 gas, a nearly 5x increase. Why the massive overhead?
Because of all the steps we just discussed. The simulation by the bundler, the verification by the entry point, the custom signature checks in your sender contract, and the routing logic of the paymaster. All of that programmable logic requires the blockchain nodes to perform more computations, which costs more gas.
So it's actually more expensive for the individual.
If you are paying your own gas on the Ethereum mainnet, an ERC 43367 wallet is currently significantly more expensive for isolated single transactions.
So how is this economically viable for anyone?
Optimization strategies are absolutely required. This is where transaction batching becomes not just a UX convenience, but an economic necessity. While a single transaction is more expensive due to the base overhead of the entry point, batching 4 or 5 operations into a single user operation amortizes that base overhead cost across all the actions.
Ah, so you spread the cost out.
Exactly. The per action cost drops significantly. Furthermore, as we will discuss shortly, deploying these smart accounts on layer 2 networks where computation is exponentially cheaper mitigates this overhead entirely.
Okay, making sense. My analogy for a paymaster is a high-end casino offering free valet parking and complimentary drinks. The business gladly pays your entry fee and your operating costs because removing that friction guarantees you will walk through their doors, stay longer, and engage with their core product.
Exactly right.
The cost of the valet is a fraction of the value they capture by keeping you in their ecosystem. The cost of sponsoring gas is simply customer acquisition overhead.
So paymasters solve the financial and economic friction. But we still have the psychological friction. How does account abstraction solve the terror of losing a wallet or the absolute annoyance of constantly clicking approve for every single move in a complex application?
Right.
This brings us to the next level of security and user experience.
Let's tackle the anxiety of loss first. The solution here is social recovery. This is arguably the most critical feature for mainstream adoption because it completely removes the reliance on a written seed phrase.
It's essential.
How does it actually work in practice?
With social recovery, your smart contract wallet allows you to designate a group of guardians. These guardians can be trusted friends, family members, other devices you own, like a hardware wallet locked in a safe deposit box, or even professional institutional services.
Okay, so they hold my keys.
No. Under normal day-to-day circumstances, these guardians have absolutely zero access to your funds. They cannot initiate transactions, they cannot see your balances unless they're public, and they cannot interfere with your account. They're completely dormant.
But if disaster strikes, if I lose my phone, or forget my biometric login, or realize my signing key has been compromised by malware,
you trigger a recovery process. You reach out to your guardians. If a predefined majority of them, let's say you set the rule to require 3 out of 5 guardians, cryptographically sign a specific recovery transaction agreeing that you have lost access, they can vote to change your wallet's public signing key to a brand new one that you currently control.
But hold on, if my guardians are my friends and family, what happens if they all get hacked? Or worse, what if 3 of my buddies get together, decide they want my crypto, and collude against me to trigger a recovery and steal my funds? Doesn't social recovery just take the single point of failure of a seed phrase and replace it with a new distributed vulnerability based entirely on human trust?
That is the most common and vital critique of social recovery. If the system is set up poorly, yes, it introduces a massive collusion vector.
So how do you prevent that?
The key to mitigating this flaw is how you structure the guardian weights and types. You should not just use 3 friends. A robust, highly secure setup includes a diverse mix of authentication methods. You might have 1 trusted family member as 1 guardian. You might have a cold storage hardware wallet that you keep in a bank vault as a second guardian.
And the third?
For the third, you use an institutional guardian.
An institutional guardian.
Yeah.
Like a corporation holding my keys.
Not holding your keys, but holding a voting right. A wallet provider or a security firm can act as an automated guardian. They do not have human discretion. Their servers are programmed to only sign a recovery request if you authenticate through traditional Web 2 means.
Like what?
Like clicking a secure link in an email, providing a 2-factor authentication code sent via SMS, and answering security questions. By mixing these types, a human, a piece of offline hardware, and an automated institutional protocol requiring 2FA, you make collusion virtually impossible.
That's a great point. Your friend, your hardware wallet inside a bank vault, and a corporate server requiring your phone number are not going to team up to steal your funds.
Furthermore, there's a time delay built into the smart contract, right?
Oh, really? The key change doesn't happen the second they vote.
Correct. It is a critical safety parameter. Even if a malicious recovery is triggered, there's a time lock, usually 1 to 3 days. During this window, you receive notifications.
Ah, so you have time to react.
Exactly. If you still have your original key and this is an attack, you can simply use your original key to cancel the recovery request and instantly remove those malicious guardians from your contract. It creates a multi-layered security web that is far superior to a single piece of paper.
Okay, that solves the anxiety of loss. What about the annoyance of constant approvals? We mentioned batching earlier regarding economics, but let's talk about the user experience of multi-call.
Multi-call, or atomic transaction batching, is a massive UX upgrade. In a traditional EOA, if you want to trade a token on a decentralized exchange, you must execute 2 separate, distinct transactions.
Which takes forever.
Yes. First, you sign a transaction approving the exchange's smart contract to access your specific tokens. You submit that, pay gas, and wait for the network to confirm it. Then you sign a second transaction to actually execute the swap. You pay gas again and wait again.
It is tedious, and worse, it exposes you to price slippage. While you are waiting for that first approval to clear, the price of the asset you want to buy might have changed significantly.
With a smart contract wallet, Multicol combines these actions into one single, instantaneous atomic transaction. You click once on the interface. The smart contract bundles the approval logic, performs the swap logic, and finalizes the trade in the exact same block. It turns a multi-step, multi-minute ordeal into a one-click experience.
But what if I don't want to click at all? What if I am playing a Web3 game and I am moving a character, picking up items, and casting spells? I can't be clicking a wallet approval pop-up every 2 seconds, even if it is batched. It ruins the immersion.
This is where session keys come in. This feature is an absolute game changer for gaming and high-frequency decentralized finance. A session key allows you to sign your wallet once to grant a decentralized application temporary, highly restricted access to your account.
It is like handing a bartender your credit card to keep a tab open, but with strict mathematical constraints on what the bartender can pour.
Exactly. You can program the session key with incredibly granular constraints within your smart contract. You can say, I authorize this game to make transactions on my behalf, but it can only call the specific move character and collect item functions.
So it can't just drain my account.
Right. It is mathematically barred from accessing my main token balances or transferring my NFTs. Furthermore, you can say this authorization expires in exactly 2 hours, and it cannot spend more than $5 worth of sponsored gas.
So for the next 2 hours, the game plays fluidly, exactly like a normal console game. No pop-ups, no friction, no signing requests. The smart contract automatically signs the microtransactions in the background within the strict safety fences you establish.
And once the session expires, the key is mathematically useless. It provides the seamless user experience of a centralized traditional database with the security and asset ownership of a decentralized blockchain.
Speaking of asset ownership, we have to talk about token-bound accounts, or the ERC 6551 standard. This is where account abstraction gets incredibly sci-fi. Explain how an NFT, a digital picture, can suddenly be a wallet.
This completely flips the relationship between accounts and assets. Traditionally, your wallet holds an NFT. Under ERC 6551, the NFT is a smart contract wallet.
Mind blown.
The NFT itself is assigned its own smart contract address. This means the NFT can own other assets.
So if I have a digital avatar NFT for a role-playing game, that avatar can literally own the digital sword it holds. The sword isn't sitting in my main wallet next to the avatar. It is literally inside the avatar's own specific wallet, and the avatar can hold the ETH needed to pay for its own transactions.
It creates network playable characters. The assets are bundled intricately. If you spend months leveling up a character and acquiring gear, and you decide to sell that avatar on an open marketplace, you aren't just selling a picture.
You're selling the whole inventory.
You are selling the avatar, the sword it holds, the digital clothing it wears, and the currency in its pockets, all bundled in a single transaction. Because all of those assets belong to the token-bound account of the avatar itself.
It creates a nested doll of ownership. It makes digital assets truly composable and independent. It is fascinating. But these features, social recovery, session keys, token-bound accounts, they aren't merely conveniences for retail consumers and gamers. They are the exact foundational tools required for massive institutional and enterprise adoption of digital assets. We are talking about enterprise use cases, layer 2 adoption, and the future of the network.
Mainstream financial institutions, hedge funds, and massive corporations cannot operate using seed phrases written on a piece of paper, and they cannot operate on systems without strict compliance and access controls.
They need enterprise-grade security.
Smart contract wallets provide enterprise treasury management, the programmable guardrails they require to meet regulatory and internal audit standards.
Let's look at a corporate treasury. You have a board of directors, you have financial officers, and you have day-to-day traders executing strategies. A smart contract wallet allows you to build a programmable multi-signature hierarchy perfectly mirroring the corporate structure.
You can encode logic directly into the Treasury's sender contract that states, to move more than $10 million, 3 out of 5 board members must cryptographically sign the transaction.
But for day-to-day operations,
you can implement role-based access. A junior trader might be given a session key that allows them to execute trades up to $100,000 per day, but they're completely restricted by the smart contract from withdrawing funds to any external addresses.
You can implement strict whitelisting too, right? The smart contract can be programmed to permanently block any transaction that attempts to send funds to an address that hasn't been pre-approved by the compliance department or run through a KYC and AML screening process.
Exactly. You can enforce daily, weekly, or monthly spending caps automatically.
It brings Wall Street level compliance directly down to the smart contract code. You don't have to trust the trader not to steal the money. The code simply will not allow the money to move outside the parameters.
But as we discussed earlier regarding the gas overhead of ERC 4337, deploying this much logic on the Ethereum mainnet is expensive. The gas required to run a complex corporate compliance smart contract on layer 1 is a limiting factor. Therefore, account abstraction is finding its true home on layer 2 networks.
The rollups. Networks like zkSync, Starknet, Arbitrum, and Optimism.
Yes, because these layer 2 networks process thousands of transactions off-chain, mathematically compress them into a tiny proof, and then post that single proof back to Ethereum, the cost of computation is a fraction of a cent.
So the gas overhead of running complex smart contract logic becomes entirely negligible.
And the architecture on layer 2 is evolving rapidly. Some networks, like zkSync and Starknet, recognize the power of this early and actually built account abstraction natively into their protocol from day one.
Right, native account abstraction.
It is called native account abstraction. Because the network itself is designed from the ground up for smart accounts, you don't even need the external bundler infrastructure or this separate alternative mempool. The protocol handles the intent, the validation, and the fee abstraction natively at the consensus level, making it exponentially more efficient and cheaper than bolting ERC-4337 onto a legacy network.
But what about all the people who already have traditional wallets? There are millions of existing EOAs out there holding billions of dollars. We can't just tell everyone to abandon their old wallets, pay massive gas fees to manually transfer all their assets one by one to a brand new smart contract wallet and update all their connected applications.
It is a logistical nightmare that would shatter the user base.
Right, so what's the solution?
This is the final piece of the puzzle, and it is coming in the near future with the upcoming Pectra upgrade to the Ethereum network. Involves a highly anticipated new proposal called EIP 7702.
EIP 7702. Let's unpack the mechanics of this, because it sounds like it breaks the rules. If my old rigid seed phrase EOA is dumb, how does it suddenly learn how to use a paymaster or batch transactions?
EIP 7702 is a brilliant compromise of temporary state delegation. It allows existing legacy EOAs to temporarily execute smart contract code during the exact lifespan of a single transaction.
Walk me through that. How does a dumb wallet borrow a smart brain?
When you initiate a transaction using EIP 7702, your standard EOA signs a specialized authorization message. This message tells the network, for the duration of this specific transaction, change my account's code to match this specific smart contract.
Oh, wow.
The network temporarily upgrades your EOA into a smart contract, executes the advanced logic like pulling gas from a paymaster or executing a multiple batch, and then the moment the transaction is complete, your account reverts back to being a standard secure EOA.
It is like renting a cutting-edge smart home security system for the weekend while you are out of town. You get all the benefits of the cameras, the motion sensors, and the automated alerts for a temporary period. When you get back, the system vanishes. You get the advanced protection exactly when you need it, without having to tear your entire house down to its foundations to permanently wire a new system from scratch.
That's exactly it. It gives you the functionality without the immense cost and risk of permanent migration.
It creates a seamless onboarding ramp for the entire industry. It brings the profound benefits of account abstraction to the existing legacy user base immediately, while new users entering the space will simply be onboarded directly into permanent smart contract wallets without ever knowing what an EOA or a seed phrase is.
When we tie all these technical components, these economic models, and these enterprise use cases together, we are summarizing a total transformation of the financial landscape. We are moving from the dial-up era of crypto to the broadband era.
We really are. We are witnessing the transition of cryptocurrency from a dangerous, user-hostile frontier into a seamless, invisible infrastructure. By leveraging the engine room of bundlers and entry points, the economic flexibility of paymasters, and the programmable logic of sender contracts, we are rapidly entering an era of gasless transactions, biometric security, and enterprise-grade asset management.
The blockchain is finally fading into the background where it belongs. If you send an email, you do not need to understand how the TCP/IP protocol routes packets of data through fiber optic cables. You just type the message and hit send. Users shouldn't have to understand the cryptography or manage the network state to use digital money.
Exactly. The complexity is moving from the user interface down to the infrastructure layer, managed by robust incentivized protocols and automated businesses. I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over as you digest all of this.
Okay, lay it on me.
We've talked about wallets gaining the ability to hold their own session keys, automatically pay subscriptions without prompts, and recover themselves via institutional guardians without any human intervention. The smart contract logic is becoming increasingly sophisticated. We are rapidly approaching a point where we really need to stop calling them wallets entirely. A wallet is a dumb piece of leather that holds inert cash. These are not wallets.
They are execution environments.
So the question is, will the next iteration of account abstraction, combined with artificial intelligence, simply transform our accounts into autonomous financial AI agents?
That's a wild thought.
Imagine a token-bound account that is authorized with a specific risk parameter, and while you sleep, it actively trades assets, harvests yield across different DeFi protocols, pays your monthly bills, automatically hedges against market downturns, and secures your wealth by rotating its own guardian structures based on real-time threat models.
And you aren't doing anything.
You aren't interacting with the blockchain at all. You are employing a tireless, cryptographically secure digital wealth manager that lives entirely on-chain.
The foundation for that reality is exactly what we have explored today. The programmability of the account makes autonomous agency possible.
It is a wild future to consider. Thank you for joining this deep dive on Talk Tickers. Remember, we are finally moving past the era of the buried combinations safe in the backyard. The modern digital bank is being built on-chain, and this time, you hold the keys, even if you never have to see them.
Until next time.